Hi, I'm Valerie Hector, and in these videos I teach you how to make a Zahah. It's a beaded structure that has 3 sides connected by 3 spines. If you know flat right angle weave, you'll have no trouble with this structure. I named it after the Iraqi-British architect Zaha Hadid because the outlines of this structure remind me of 1 or 2 of the buildings that she's designed. And if you want to know more, you can follow the link down here in the show notes. And I linked to my website to the instructions for this technique, the patterns, and you can download them for free and learn more about why I named this structure after Zaha Hadid. Anyway, the structure was invented in China. I've never seen it done anywhere else. I found this example. It's a hanging ornament made of maybe 10mm Chinese plastic beads, stitched with nylon monofilament, and then finished with this delightful little macrame knot here, Chinese knot. I found it, I can't remember exactly when, it was somewhere around 2010 or between 2005 and 2010. I see it as a modern structure. I don't know that it appeared in China's past, but it's entirely possible. Anyway, the beader who made this structure put a little bell inside, so it tinkles. Was it meant, to be a rear view mirror ornament or just a hanging ornament? I really don't know. But it's the only one I ever saw in China, and I never found out more. I found it at a little bead shop in Beading. Never found out more. So anyway, there are many, many ways to make this structure. Many ways. For the first few years or 10 years that I made it the hard way. And I taught my assistants to make it the hard way, where you get lost. You don't know where you are at a certain point, and you just go crazy trying to figure out which step comes next. How I teach you in these videos, you're never going to wonder what step comes next. I teach you the easy way. No tears, really fast. And I can almost guarantee you that after you make one of these, following my instructions, you won't even need the instructions again, okay? Now I'm going to teach you how to make them in these videos using Czech fire polish beads. These are 4mm fire polish, but really you can use any roundish bead, okay? You can also use beads like regular seed beads that are kind of flat or shaped like a donut, but they need to have fairly large holes like Japanese seed beads do, okay? Now, I've stopped offering kits. What I'm going into is videos because I love the whole process of making videos and sharing the few things I've learned in my life's journey in beadwork. Now, as I said at the beginning, if you want to find free patterns, you can go to my website and download them and print them out on your own. They're full of beautiful color illustrations. Put a lot of effort into them, and I'm pleased with them, and I hope you will be too. Share them with your friends. Why not? Comment on these videos. I will appreciate hearing from you, and subscribe. I appreciate that too. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Key terms and principles relating to the structure of a Zahah. Now, the structure of a Zahah is very elegant, very simple, very streamlined. To me, it feels like a very modern structure. I don't know how the Chinese stitched it. I don't know how they created it, but I do know how it makes sense to me to create it. For years, I made it the hard way, and so did my assistants, always struggling to get these 3 green sides to go together in the right way, getting lost, etc. However, you're going to be learning the easy way. Let's talk about the different terms I've invented to make it easier for us to orient ourselves in space as we go ahead and make our Zahah. I see these 3 green squares as faces. They start out being flat. It's just flat squares of right angle weave. Make them big, you can make them small, it really doesn't matter. Here's the first face, the second face, the third face. After we make the 3 faces, we stitch them together. The way to stitch them together that's easy is to create a separate 3-bead North Pole and then stitch it to the faces. There is also a South Pole here, a 3-bead South Pole, but there's no reason to make it separately, and you'll see why as we move on. Now each Zaha has 3 spines. They're long. They go here and they jut out and then they come down here. Spine 1, spine 2, spine 3. Okay. What else can I tell you? I think about the northern half of a Zaha as the northern hemisphere here. Okay. And of course, there's a southern hemisphere, isn't there? Right here. Okay. And so the south half and the north half, where do they meet? They meet in the middle, which is the equator, as I call it. There are 3 equator beads. Here's 1, here's 2, and here's 3. And if we draw an imaginary circle around these 3 beads, we come up with an equator. Now, these terms are not written in stone. There might be better terms. They're just, again, to orient us in space and in the sequence of our steps as we go ahead and make a Zaha, which we're going to do any minute now. Now, once you've decided what size of Zaha you're going to make, you want to get busy making 3 faces in that size. So you're going to make either 3 4x4, 3 5x5, 3 6x6, or hey, you could make a 3 7x7, 3 3x3, whatever you decide on. You want to get started making your 3 faces. Stitching them in flat right angle weave is not hard. Reinforcing them, though, takes more time. Where you see the black beads here, this is page 11 of my Zaha instructions, which you can find downloadable for free on my website under the Patterns tab, I think. Where you see the black beads here, you want to extra reinforce here and here. You don't have to be perfect about it, but you do want to put in some extra time if you want your Zaha to be reasonably firm and well made, like this, okay? It's not going to collapse in on itself anytime soon. When a customer picks up a structure like this, he or she can be pretty confident that it's well made. But this does take extra reinforcing in the center of each face. Now, if you don't feel that you need that, you don't have to reinforce as much, and you will end up with a Zaha that's just a little more flexible, okay? And, you know, I don't know if a customer picks it up, what's going to be her reaction or his reaction. I'm not sure. But if it's just for you, it really doesn't matter, okay? So this Zaha has 3 faces that were not that well reinforced, and you can tell. All right, so you want to get busy making your first 3 faces for your first Zaha, and I'll see you in the next video. Making a 3-bead North Pole. Now, I am not putting a knot at the end of this thread that I'm using because a knot is just going to clog up the holes, most likely, of one of these beads. So I just slide the 3 beads down to near the end of the thread, and then I'm going to circle around and stitch back through, right? Just like this. And holding the tail at the right while I put the needle through the 3 beads. You know, this is easy for you, advanced beaders, I know. And I probably don't need to go through it, but I am anyway. All right, now I'm going to reinforce just once or twice, right? So going back through each of the beads, pulling on the tail when necessary, to make sure that our 3-bead North Pole is tight, and it won't come apart while we're working with it. And that's really it. I am leaving the needle attached, the needle and thread attached. Why? Because there's no point cutting them off. If we leave them attached, then we're ready to start the next step, which is attaching the faces to the North Pole. Okay? Orienting the 3 faces to the North Pole. Now here's the North Pole. Here are the 3 faces. And this is how we want to orient them. we want to make sure that the threads here on each corner match the threads that unite two of the beads in the North Pole, okay? Pushing them closer like this, we see that the threads match the threads. What else is going on here? Each one of the beads in the North Pole is going to serve as the uppermost bead in the spine that's going to run down here, connecting these two sides. You know, when I first figured out this solution, it seemed like a great advance because it makes it very straightforward to connect these three panels. It didn't used to be straightforward, but it does seem kind of counterintuitive that a bead sits in a negative space here, right? That each one of these North Pole beads fills up the top of this negative space. But remember, each of these negative spaces is going to become a spine. So it actually makes a lot of sense, okay? Now, getting us ready for the next step, let's get in position here. I've got my ready-made North Pole here, and I am going to make sure that I set it up so that this bead in the North Pole, that's going to be the top of spine 1, and has holes that are running east to west, okay? And that's the only way in which this is going to work. Why? Because we're forming part of a right angle cell, a right angle weave cell, right? So it's got to look like this to get us ready for the next step. Basically going to create one right angle weave cell, so one square in the first spine, in spine 1, using 4 beads, okay? The first bead is, of course, already present. It's in the North Pole. It's the bead we set up with the horizontal holes here. Now, we're going to go down. We're going to call that, I think we called that bead 1. And this is bead 2. And this is bead 3. So what we want to do is go down through bead 4, which is attached to face the first face here, and then pull. Well, what do we end up with? You see what we end up with here? We've attached the North Pole to the first face, to face 1 of our Zaha. Now, we always have to keep reorienting it so that it sits properly. There, now it sits properly. Okay. You can see I put bead number 5 here already. Let's go ahead and thread bead number 5. And then we're going to attach the first face to the second face by going through bead number 6, which belongs to, I think this is the third face. And then we pull. And of course, everything wants to come out of alignment, and you know, that's normal. That's okay. So now what are we going to do? We're going to go back through to finish creating our square. We're going to go back through this bead here, which we called bead number 1. Okay, like this. And you see we have formed the first ring, or the first square in spine 1 here. And you can see how neatly these two parts, these two faces, are coming together. It's like beautiful. Now you don't really have to reinforce this right now at this point because everything will get reinforced later. Instead, let's continue on. Now we're going to circle around the first face, this bead and this bead and this bead and this bead. This is bead 4, this is bead 7, this is bead 8, this is bead 9, and this red one here is bead 2. And then we're going to go over to, we're going to pick up bead 10, okay? And when we pick up bead 10, we will officially have attached all 3 faces to the North Pole. All right, so let's go down through bead 4, let's go across through bead 7. I hope I left enough room in bead 7. I hope I didn't over reinforce. Yeah, there's enough room. That's good. Okay, now we're going to go up through bead 8. Oh, again, I really hope I didn't overly reinforce, which I do sometimes, meaning that one of these babies will crack. Oh, please don't crack. All right. Got lucky that time. All right. I mean, it's a judgment call how much to reinforce, right? Okay, now we're going to navigate left through bead 9. And the best diagram to look at this right now is on page 15. It's a figure 4C. And then we're going to go up through bead 2. Okay, we're looking great. We've been lucky so far. And now we're going to navigate left to right through bead 10. Okay, so what we've done here is several things, couple things. Well, we've connected all 3 faces to one another. We've connected ring 1 of spine 1, and we've got ourselves in position to create ring 1 of spine 2. This is spine 2, this is spine 3. So, okay, we've been lucky so far. We're looking good. We have a good amount of thread, and full speed ahead. We're going to continue connecting the faces to the North Pole by forming ring 1 of spine 2. As we said, here's spine 1, here's spine 2. We've already got the 1 bead we're going to add, and this is, excuse me, this is bead number 11. Okay, so let's string bead number 11. Let's get it down there in position. Okay, and then to connect it, we're going to go through bead 9. Okay, we already been through this bead once. Hopefully we have enough room to go through again. Yeah, we do, no problem. Sometimes the thread gets stuck, as you know. All right, now we've got this bead in place, all right? This is bead 11. It's in place and everything, but now we have to navigate around until we can get over here. We're going to navigate through the North Pole and then around this corner here. I guess you would call it the southern corner of face 2 until we can get into position to add the first ring of spine 3. Okay, so anyway, let's get going here. We're going to cross through bead 2 like this. See, this is why we need to leave enough room in the North Pole beads, because we're going to cross through them a few times. Now, we want to go left or down and up, down to up or left to right, whatever it is, through bead number 10. Go up through, oh dear, one of these days we're going to break one. Go up through bead number 12. I am using a size 12 needle. That was probably a good call, right? And then we're going to go through bead 13, which is this bead. Uh-oh. All right, got lucky again. And then we're going to go through bead 14, which is here. Oops. Right. And then we're going to go back through bead 3 of the North Pole, like that, right? And there's not too much left to do here. We just want to get down through this bead, go through this bead, which is bead number 15. Now, once we've gone through bead 15, we're in position to go to the next step, which is we're going to add ring 1 of spine 3. We can already get our, if we can just find a red bead here, you know, they were here and then they go flying. Here's a red bead. We will already be in position to add this bead in our next step. Okay. We're going to finish connecting the faces to the North Pole as we form ring 1 of spine 3 here, okay? Now, right now, we're coming out of this bead. This is bead 15, right? This was bead 3 of the North Pole. This is bead 15. We want to pick up bead 16 here, string it, and then we're going to go through bead 14. We've already visited bead 14. We really hope we left enough room in it. Yes, we did. That's good. Okay, we're coming out of bead 14 right now, and we're going to go back down through bead 3. Okay, now we really want to get ourselves in position to add to get back to spine 1 so we can finish spine 1. How should we do that? What we're going to do is go back through bead 15, then go through bead 17, go down through bead 17, go over through bead 18, and then go down through bead 19. Okay, so right now we're going right to left through bead 15. We're going top to bottom. We're going down through bead 17. We're going over through bead 18. And then we're going down through bead 19 here. And so we're in, I don't know where this little thread is coming from. Anyway, we're in perfect position to finish, to keep adding more cells to spine 1. And that's going to be our next mission, to finish spine 1 completely. Now our needle is coming out of bead number 19, right? So we're going to add bead 20. Let's add bead 20, string bead 20, and then we want to secure bead 20, and we're going to do that by going up through bead 21 here, like this, and pull. And then we're going to go back over through, was this bead 5? Yeah, I think so. Bead 5. And pull tightly, but you know, not too tightly. We'll reinforce more later on. Right now we're just getting the beads in place reasonably well. Okay. Now we're going to go back down through bead 19, and there we are. We can cross over to bead 20, cross over through bead 20, and then go down through bead 22. Okay, it's just kind of classic right angle weave. It's really straightforward. You can see that this is spine 1, we've got ring 1, and we've got ring 2 in place. It's going to be really easy to add ring 3. To do that, we're going to pick up bead number 23, okay, and then fit it into place. And then we're going to go up through bead 24, like this, over through bead 20, like this, down through bead 22. Oh, hoping bead 22 isn't too full of thread, hoping we can find a magic opening here so we don't crack the bead. There we go. All right. We're going to go over through bead 23 like this, and then down through bead 25, and we're already on step 9 here. All right. And then there's just one more bead to add to finish spine 1, and that's bead number 26 here. Okay, to secure bead 26, we're going to go up through bead 27, cross over through bead 23, go down through bead 25, hoping again, yes, we got lucky, okay, that we can get through, and then out through bead 26. Okay, now spine 1 is done. This is excellent, and I think you'll see that it's going to be very easy to stitch spines 2 and 3. Now at this point I'm getting kind of low on thread. Instead of navigating over to spine 2, I think I'm going to try to go back through this bead if I can, and I'm just going to secure this thread. I'm going to tie it off, and I'm going to add a longer thread because then I'll be able to add, with that one thread, I'll be able to add spines 2 and 3 all the way, most likely. Okay, so I'm just tying off this thread here by going back through various different beads, loose beads, full beads, I mean beads that are full of thread and beads that are not. Right, and then at this point I'm just going to snip it. I could zap it, but I have a scissors nearby, so I am just cutting it. Now, already you can see how this is the northern hemisphere of the Zaha, how it wants to form a three-dimensional structure. It's so cool. It's so cooperative, right? It's going to be a piece of cake, stitching spines 2 and 3, and we'll get to that in the next lesson. We're going to stitch the northern halves of spines 2 and 3. Okay, we've already got spine 1 in place. We got to add 3 beads for spine 2 and 3 beads for spine 3. I don't spell this out in the instructions because I figure if you know right angle weave and you've gotten this far, then everything else is going to be pretty easy. So I'm adding my new thread, a longish thread, so I know that I have enough room. Whoops, this bead looks pretty tight. I don't know, I really don't want to crack a bead at this point in time. Okay, we got lucky. All right, so I'm getting in position to add more beads to spine 2. These beads are not numbered. We're just doing it, you know, intuitively. Always creating squares of beads. I'm picking up 1 bead here, going up through this green bead, just cooperating. Love it. And then going across through the other red bead here. Going down or over, as the case may be, through this bead, back through the red bead, okay, down through the green bead, and pick up another red bead. All right. So this red bead helps us to form the third ring in spine 2. And you see how you can get going very quickly. It's just kind of like a zipper, you know, stitching a zipper closed, so to speak. Go back over here, and you can really go quickly. Now this is kind of wonky. I guess I would take a minute here to reinforce this somewhat. I just don't like it being quite that loose. And then I go back through this one, down through this one, over through this one, down through this one. And see how fast we finished the northern part of spine 2. I mean, it's just it's a piece of cake, right? Once you get the hang of it. We'll finish this. Okay, so now we've got spine 1 in place and spine 2 in place. You know, we have options. We can either take the time to navigate over, meaning run the needle through all sorts of beads until we get over here, or we can just cut the thread, you know, go reinforcing it, make sure it's not going to come loose. A few more times, go through a few more beads, and then I would probably just cut the thread and then start over. See, I worry that we're going to crack a bead any minute now. That's enough. I think I'm going to snip this off now. And start over here somewhere. Now, some of you like to perfect your threads as you're going along in your structure, and that's fine. I generally leave mine till the end. You know, I clean up all the loose threads later on. Either, you know, sometimes I'll use a torch if it's a really difficult thread, or you can use a zapper tool. Okay, let's work our way to a point where we can access spine 3 without breaking any beads. All right, let's go down through here, over through here, down through here, and let's pick up a bead. Again, this beautiful three-dimensional shape that has so much potential just on its own. And I think artists have already used structures like this in the various pieces they've been making, but not a three-sided one, I don't think. All right, let's go close this through here, down through this one, over, whoops, over through this one, down through this one, add a bead. Here we go. Cross over. Probably reinforce a little here. A little anticipatory reinforcing. Just about done. Oops. Okay, we need to find another red bead. Here we go. It's running away. All right, so when we add this bead, we'll be officially done stitching the northern halves of spines 1, 2, and 3. They create, did I get that right? Oh no, I forgot to go through a bead. Sorry. Oh. Okay, you see the importance of going through every bead, which you already know, right? I added a red bead too soon. Okay, let us then go down through the green bead before we add this red bead. Go back up through the green bead, go over, stitch around a couple times so nothing comes loose. And then I want to show you how cool this structure is on the inside too. Okay, so you see the outside here. I'll snip a few more threads. So here's this, and look, when you go like this, you've got sort of like a basket shape, which could be really interesting just on its own, you know. Everything is very clean here. You can see the structure wanting to take shape, okay? Now, this is where we're going to add the southern spines, okay? And it's going to zip up just beautifully, just perfectly, okay? But right now, I would probably, before I switch to the southern spines, I would probably do a little reinforcing up here. You can do it now, or you can wait until your entire Zaha is done. But feel free to extra reinforce if you want to right now. Okay? So cool. We're making progress. We're almost done. Each spine needs 3 more beads, which I've set out here. Right now I'm coming out of a spine bead, an equator bead. Now to begin stitching the spines in the southern hemisphere. First, I'm going to push these together like this, right? So I see right away where I need to go, okay? And I see how quickly my zipper is going to form, all right? I don't know which spine this is, and it doesn't really matter anymore which spine it is. We know we have 3 spines, and we know we're going to, in the southern hemisphere, and we know that we're going to connect them. All right, so I have added a bead here. Now I'm going to go up through this bead. Again, it's just classic right angle weave. And if you don't know the history of right angle weave, I don't think it's ever been written, actually, but I do know that one of the earliest examples that survives in the world is found in China. Well, that's not quite correct. It was found in Japan at a temple, and it's now preserved in the Tokyo National Museum. However, scholars think that the panel, which is quite small, it's about 2 inches, I think, is it 2 inches wide by 24 inches long or something like that, was made in China in the Ming Dynasty. And the Ming Dynasty runs from 1368 to 1644, so that's pretty early. Anyway, I've published the panel in something like one of my papers, I think. It's inscribed with 7 beautiful Chinese characters. So it shows that right angle weave was in China anyway. We think it's China. Pretty highly developed by the Ming Dynasty. That's hundreds of years ago. It stands to reason that right angle weave is probably a lot older than that too. Probably in China, maybe elsewhere. Now see what I'm doing? I'm just doing what we did for the other spines. Adding beads, creating rings, quickly finishing spines, but not too quickly, We want to take our time and do it well, but we also don't want to spend forever on this structure. Okay, so we'll just keep going, keep going, keep going. It's actually pretty fun at this point. All the hard stuff is over, and now it's kind of a joyride. And pretty soon, if you want to wear your Zaha, you will be wearing your Zaha around your neck if you want, as a pendant, or a necklace element, or maybe, as a pair of earrings. So once we get all 3 spines finished and fairly well reinforced, we'll learn how to make your Zaha wearable, if you wish. Okay, let's add the next red bead here. Okay, beautiful. Now, this is interesting, just as it is right now, an interesting structure. We could bend this out, bend this in. Anyway, what I would do to guide myself is, again, close up the Zaha as it's going to appear when it's really done. Pinch the sides together and figure out where to go next, hopefully without breaking any beads. Gently, gently, right? Size 12 needle. All right, here's where I am. Now, this is what I would do at this point, but you don't have to do this. I mentioned that the Zaha, you know what the North Pole looks like. It has 3 beads in it, right? Well, the South Pole looks the same, and I don't think I wrote this in the instructions, but it doesn't really matter. What I would do at this point, I would create a 3-bead South Pole by adding 2 beads. I need to be coming out of a red bead, any bead in the North Pole here, the furthest bead, forming this bead here will be forming part of the South Pole. I think I just said North Pole. Sorry about that. Anyway, what I would do here, what I usually do, is just add 2 red beads, go back through this red bead, and form a 3-bead South Pole. you don't have to do this. You can just keep going using your intuition, creating squares, and you will end up with a triangle of beads for the South Pole. But I like doing this, and I would probably cross over here. Then I know exactly where I am. I can navigate to creating the next cell, the next square in this spine here. And you see how neatly this pulls together? It's like, it's so easy. It really, this structure wants you to succeed. I'm convinced of it, you know? Except if you break a bead, and then that will be a problem. So I'm trying not to. There we go. Okay. See how beautiful this is? If I wanted to, I could cross over this bead here, cross through this bead here, go down through this bead here, and add a red bead, thereby forming the first ring in the southern half of this spine, whatever spine it is. So you see, there are many ways to create the spines in the southern half of your Zaha. Any way that produces squares in the spines and a 3-bead South Pole is the right way. Okay, so you know by the patterns in the beads, are you forming the patterns correctly? And if you are, you're on the right track. Okay. Yeah, I think I will go through this one again. So there's no set pattern as to how to create or stitch up the spines in the southern hemisphere. I could have created one, but I didn't think it was exactly necessary. Now here I seem to be confronted by this green bead here that, you know, it seems to be so full that I'm afraid to go back through it. So what I'm going to do is circle around the thread that connects this green bead to this red bead, and I'm going to go back through the red bead because I know it has space in it. Okay, now we're almost getting to the same problem with this green bead, but not quite. So where should we go next? Let's go, we'll go down through. No, let's go over through the South Pole to strengthen it a little more. And then we'll go down through this bead here, over through this bead here. Whoops. And let's just check out where we are. We still have to add this part of this spine and this part of this spine, okay? So here we go here. Add a red bead. Go up through this. Over through this. Down through this. Over through this. And you know, if I need to use my scissors to open up the structure, I will, you know, to give me a better access. Let's get another bead here, another red one, and we'll go up through here. It's twisting around itself, okay. Here, go back through this one, gingerly. All right, over through the red one here. Up through the green one here. And through this bead here is an equator bead, right? And we know that the northern and southern halves of each spine meet in the equator bead. All right. So that's what you want to do to finish stitching the spines in the southern hemisphere. of your Zaha. Okay, I'm pretty much out of thread. That's fine. I'm going to let you go ahead and add whatever beads may be missing in here. Enjoy the process. You know, your Zaha is coming to life. Now, you can see already that this Zaha is pretty firm. You know, the faces in the middle were well reinforced, which creates a pretty firm Zaha. If they weren't, it would be floppy in a way that I just don't like, you know. And you don't want to wear it, I don't think, as an earring or even a pendant if it's too floppy, okay? So I will see you in the next step where we're going to start making our Zahas wearable.